Okay. Yeah. All right. Good afternoon, Mwafrika Chidi.
Afternoon, Africa. Kubian, how are you?
I'm all right, Ndade. How are you doing?
No, I'm all right, my brother. I'm all right, man. I'm all right.
No, I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm happy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, I think um, Africana Justice Association has been here for quite a considerable time now. I remember when we started, we actually even before we came up with the name AJA, we called it Human Rights and Social Justice. You
Yeah.
will remember that. You'll remember that.
Yeah.
Perhaps you want
Yeah.
to take some time and tell us about this Africana Justice Association, when it started, what did we envisage to achieve out of this association?
Well, we started during the year 2022 in February. That's the month we started, the year we started. And as you rightly said, we started as the Human Rights Association, but then now it's called Africana Justice Association. We wanted to bring it home with the title that we would be known for. That is the African part. So we started then and then we changed the name. So the objective is to advance human rights issues as they appear in the Constitution, but human rights issues are not limited to those which appear in the Constitution of the country. But then in essence, that's what we want to advance. They will vary from one form to the other when we discuss them as we go on in this program.
Oh yes. And I remember at some point we were in a plenary and we emphasized on the vision that we wanted to as the association. And I will read verbatim from the Constitution to say that we seek a society of equal opportunity and equal access, where dignity of Afrikaner is restored. And we went on to talk about the mission to say we seek to achieve this by advocating and affirming human rights and social justice as the fundamental principles necessary to advance the emancipation of African people. I think that was very, very profound in that we set ourselves to advance this cause of our people, and in particular the Afrikaner people, by promoting and advocating for them and where we want to see them, step up as people, with their dignity intact and recognized as equal. There are two flagship programs, if I remember, on this AJA. We spoke about the Koro Conversation, and the other flagship program is the Land Program. Do you want to tell us a little bit about Koro Conversations, where it started, and what was the objective? What was the main object of the Koro Conversations?
Thanks for the question. We are in a horror conversation session. And in this session, like other sessions, what we do, we choose a topic and we focus on it. But then this one is a little bit unique because it's two leaders of the association who are coming together and they say, let's talk about the association. So ordinarily, we don't necessarily focus on the association. We focus on matters of national importance, as you said, and I said so as well. The focus of the association is to advance human rights issues. So we talk about different matters related to human rights, different matters related to the themes of the months during which we may find ourselves in our life. For instance, during the June, for instance, we focus on youth issues or young people's issues. And I remember this when we discussed the issues of education. You find education in the constitution of the country as one of the rights in the constitution. So that would be an example of some of the issues that we talk about, but also to bring from outside the association, and that is the main focus, people who have expertise and knowledge about specific topics, and they would come and share their expertise, their knowledge with us in the conversation, and we invite members of the public to come participate. And in some instances, we record these conversations and publish them after the conversation. So yes, the objective is really to share information, knowledge, conscientize people about matters which concern society. That is the purpose of the conversation.
Yeah. Perhaps to do justice to the viewers who will be watching this or following this on YouTube, I think it will be worthwhile to just mention some of the guests that have participated in the Koro conversation. And I will take the honors of doing that. You will remember that I think the first conversation that we had was on the 21st of April, 2022. And I think the guest was Advocate Sipho Mantula, if I'm not mistaken. And then we went on the 19th of May to host Advocate Tembeka Ngutaitobi, when he was discussing the state of human rights in Africa. And like you have rightly said, June 15, in commemoration of the June 16, we hosted Billy Pillay and Jonas Mahedi, reflecting on the Fees Must Fall movement. I think that was one of those, that obviously young people took interest in. Now, on the 10th of July, in partnership with Sisters in Books, we hosted a review book at Library Gardens. And I remember the book that was being reviewed was The Black Text by Nick Mhlongo.
Yes, yeah.
Yes, and this initiative was led by Sisters in Books, and it was actually in befitting, in a sense, that the collaboration is one of those values that we promote as AJA, to collaborate with like-minded organizations that seek to build the nation. And then on the 4th of August, 2022, Women's Month, we had Makhatlati Pale hosting, I remember the three ladies, in commemoration of the Women's Month. Mabure Mohashwa, the author, Moloko Mabela, entrepreneur and founder of Native Nosi, Musima Rasesemola, the advocate, and they were talking about issues of women empowerment. And then on the 29th of September, you hosted Reverend Mauji Pataki, deliberating on Ubuntu, which, by the way, coincidentally, is also one of the values of Africana Justice Association. And then on the 16th of November, 2022, we unpacked the expropriation bill manual, and more about the expropriation bill manual later. I hope you will tell us a little bit more about that. But in the unpacking of the manual, we had Dr. Pitsom Pasha from PAC, and we had you, Chairperson Matumechidi, and a representative from AZAPO. On the 4th of May, we had an open conversation in which all attendees that were given an opportunity, to comment and to input on the conversation of the day. And then on the 18th of May, 2023, one of the exciting as well, Dr. Sello, you will remember, he graced this platform talking about works and rights lost to the Western world and the effects of international law on such lost works and rights. For some of us, this was quite an eye-opening because some of us were not aware of how much goes into this arts world, and how our national treasure can easily be lost. And on the 28th of June, I remember we hosted the now late, may his soul rest in peace, Dr. Daniel Makam, talking about the role of young professionals in the economic liberation of the unemployed youth. And then on the 25th of August, 2023, Ntokozo Ngobo, an author and actress, a poet, and she talked about promoting reading and writing amongst youth to improve literacy in South Africa. So the reason why I took time, Mwetapili, to just mention these guests that honored us with their presence. When you look at the people who have always participated in this forum, the diverse backgrounds, you realize that each one of us can make a difference from your respective role, wherever you are. Nation building is not a one-dimensional quest. You know, sometimes I feel that we, and you will tell me what you think, but I feel that sometimes we relinquish our will into the hands of the politicians to set the tone and dictate the narrative, rather than, you know, realizing that nation building is a multifaceted struggle, a culmination of diverse views, you know, that ultimately builds the nation. And for me, that's what Core Conversations is all about. You know, it has not been about a particular profession. You know, we have had authors, musicians, we have had politicians, advocates coming into the conversation and getting Africans to talk amongst themselves. Your thoughts?
Yeah, well, of course. I mean, that is the true intention of the forum, that people should really contribute to the building of the nation. I mean, you need to be conscious in order for you to contribute to the building of the country. And who's conscious? There's no one who's really conscious. It's just you know, people from different backgrounds who, when they come on this platform, from one person to the other, we gain some knowledge, and you find that is what you need elsewhere, wherever you may have to go and contribute in whatever way as may be necessary. So we recognize that fact, and the guests we invite over to the platform, the intention is that they give us that knowledge, limited as it may be, but it may invoke some interest in somebody who may perhaps go out and use the information as the basis for further advancement insofar as knowledge is concerned, and out of it perhaps contribute to the building of the nation. That is the essence of the conversation. But as you said rightly, the notion is that there are people from whom we should hear all the time, and that we can set a tone as a people, and in the main we wait for politicians to do that. Unfortunately, as it is, politics, it's a field on its own, but it can have solutions to everything, and therefore you need professionals, you need people who are in specific situations, who will say, this is where we are, this is what we're exposed to, and this is what we understand. Can it be understood in the way we understand it, and engage with the rest of society, and possibly also contribute to the political discourse in the country, because politicians as well may need some of the input from a whole host of people who may contribute. Like, for instance, we did with the expropriation manual. The intention was to say, this is where we went, but this is where we think we should go. You know, inform, if you like, the discourse. So yeah, that is the intention of the conversation, for a conversation, and we hope that as we go on, it grows, because we're trying to revive it. And with the session, we are trying to say, this is the understanding we have of the conversation. Come through if you think that we've got a role to play, because in the end, no one should own the platform. And let's hear from you and learn from you, and let this be recorded as well. Generations to come can always source from any other person who may contribute, and in their own space at a later stage, contribute to the development of society. That's the intention.
No, thank you for that reflection. Previously, the model has always been about inviting the guest coming in and being hosted. We are currently embarking on a one-on-one model. Do you want to say more about that?
Yes, no. It's challenging. It's challenging. There's a whole host of platforms of the same nature, and at times you swim people with this program or these programs. Then the model was that perhaps if we have this recorded conversation on YouTube, as we indicated earlier on, and we also have it recorded on Zoom, and it can be shared on other platforms as well, provided we have that capacity. The intention is to say, if somebody is interested in following this conversation on, say, Sunday, to come this evening of the 9th of November at 11 o'clock later on, 2 hours or so from the conversation, that particular person can always follow it at that stage. That is the intention. We are not saying we are killing the live discourse, the live sessions. We are not killing them. We're simply saying, if we are to have the messaging proper, perhaps share the link as you go on, and one particular moment we have the live one other moment we have the physical one. So they may come in different forms depending on the nature of the conversation we may have from one stage to the other.
Yeah. No, thank you for that clarification. And I think it adds an exciting dimension to the conversation, because we don't always have to wait, to host a particular individual, but at any given moment we can always engage and reflect about issues of importance. Yeah. One of the flagship programs under AJA is Lent. I think that there has been quite a lot of work that has been done on the issue of Lent. Can you just briefly reflect on why do you find Lent so important?
Well, I mean, why is, of course, in the context of what they wanted to achieve. Wise set of group arrived in this country, bestowed with wisdom. They knew they had to start with the land, and they took the land. And ever since then, they kept. And they've proven to have been correct in the sense that they knew where to start, not what they did, not the disposition of the land. And they did so because when you look at, for instance, if we limit ourselves to the economy, there is no single sector of the economy that is not dependent on land. You can't have paper without land. And on paper, there's a lot of knowledge that is stored. It's printed on paper, and paper is made from wood. You can't have that. So that's the first thing. You can't have tourism. You can't have your property sector. A lot of people are involved in and do business. I mean, at 10 years, I practice law. For me to practice, I need a space from which I operate. and it has to be a physical space, and most possibly in town, because the population there allows you to practice as you may wish. So you need a space from which to practice, and who owns it? You know, who owns it? I mean, generally, I'm not talking about specific situations. You can't have the construction sector, your cement. You think of all the material you put together in order to build a house or a structure, wooden house. You need some wood for you to have such a house, whether at home. But because I said I'm limiting myself to the economy for purpose of building an office, wood or a shack or anything. Shack is made from iron, rather from cheap. So all of these things show you that you can't do without land. You know, the telecommunications, somebody was discussing with me the other day, and caused me to realize, hey, this thing is too important. And he says to me, look, how do you connect with the person in Northwest? You need satellites, and the satellites are installed on or erected on some land for you to have that connectivity. The radio station. See, it appears when somebody speaks from some radio station in Bloemfontein, and we are able to listen to that person, we don't seem to know the connectivity, or at least the role that land plays in the connectivity space. It's there. Just need to study it and to see that indeed it is there. The water economy. Main water that we use is stored on land. The sand, for instance. So I can mention from one industry, one sector to the other. The effect is without land, you will not have the economy. And that's why those who are without land, they always chase those who are possessed of land and they have control of land, because those would be the people who would own, or if you like, if you want minerals, gold or any other thing, diamond, you've got to engage the person who occupies the surface of the land, because perhaps you may have to do some work underground. So come what may, that person already is rich. So that's why then, but of course, my understanding of land is that it's not limited to the economy. Within the religious sector, you can have a football ground, for instance. That's a sport we know best. You can't have that without land. You need some land. Any childhood development, children who need some portion of land, all facets of life. And in the end, when we are told when we die, and we know this, to the land we go. And that's where our remains are stored as well. So from the time you are born to the time you are buried, you are always going to have that connection with land. So if then you don't have control of land, and the land you have is inadequate, you are then robbed of the benefits you should enjoy whilst you're still alive. And that should not be accepted. And that is why then the focus on land is very, very important. Unfortunately, people don't really want to talk about this because it benefits those who are rich, and because they control the media. I don't know what do they do to the politicians, but the politicians as well, when they talk about land, you don't understand what they're saying. And I'm saying politicians because they are the ones who decide for us in the council. Professionals, I for instance, sought to engage the BLA and others. You can't hear what they're saying because, well, in essence, they're just quiet about it, and they don't mean to. They appear not to mean to intend to engage on such. And when in actual fact, they are and I'm talking about BLA specifically because I'm a lawyer, and I know the role that lawyers should play in society to emancipate people generally in society, and we are failing in that regard. So it's a painful reality, but then in essence, we should be declaring as our current generation that we should not go back to the soil before we are successful on the land front.
Yeah, I remember of recent you and I had a casual conversation, and you were so concerned about the deafening silence on the issue of land, in the country, that nobody seems to be talking about it. Um, you know, but yeah, I think in your reflection you have said a lot in that regard. Can you tell us about what has been done by AJA on the issue of land? We spoke about the expropriation bill earlier. I would like you to reflect a little bit about the work that was done on that, uh, as well as the work that you've been doing in Parliament, on the issue of land.
Yeah, well, the first one is the expropriation bill and our contribution there too. And we intended to provide the foundation for a discourse insofar as that bill is concerned. We had that the manual exists, and we shared it with those who could, and I believe, and some did revert to us and said they engaged the document. And we hope that we could take it further, but then I think we still have an opportunity to do that. We approached the National Council of Provinces and said we know that Parliament has, that is the National Assembly, referred the bill to you as the Council of Provinces for you to entertain it. But then this is our view. Then we made submissions. We haven't had from them, tried to inquire, nothing has ever been forthcoming from Parliament. So that is one part about the expropriation bill. But there's also some act on unlawful occupation. Some bill. It's a bill before Parliament. We did write some piece published on our website, but we expressed our shock. Well, frustration, if you like, not shock, because it's expected from our Parliament. The criminalize instances where you go to a farm, you are permitted when you are there, perhaps on a land reform program to inspect when you are there. As an example, you are told by the owner, look, I from now going forward, I no longer want you on the farm. And from that minute, and perhaps you're about to discover something they don't want to know, when you discover that, you are told, or just about to discover that, you are told you should vacate the property. From then, you would be treated as if you are a criminal, even if upon entry, one, you were permitted, two, you are doing government work, and therefore you have got to go to court in order to seek access. And by the time you get permission, whatever that you are about to discover has been removed from the farm. And we said, no, this is not proper, because this would be regressive. It may frustrate government, but people can always go and check the article that they wrote. The last point that we talk about in the context of AJA is the work that I did before, I think, the formation of AJA, I think, and made submissions made that submission to Parliament. But upon being aware of that submission, AJA said we are sponsoring this concept, and we identify it with it, and we agreed that we will advance the program under AJA. What is the program? The program, it's the Africanization of the law. The Africanization of the law, it's a concept we worked on the basis that the law that we have in this country, it's in the main what it's called the common law. The common law is law built from Europe. Our understanding is that as an association which identifies itself with Africanism or Pan-Africanism, we've got to do work to ensure that the values which underpin our society ought to be African values, and you look no further than in ensuring that that is achieved through the law. Made those submissions, AJA sponsored them, adopted them, and we sought to persuade members of Parliament through the Constitutional Review Committee end of March this year. and said, can you look at this submission and you change specific provisions in the Constitution? I remember in Section 173 of the Constitution. We can talk about that some other time, and some other clause in the Constitution of the Republic. It's 211, I think, subsection 3, if I'm not mistaken. Because when you read the two, you've got to change the two of them, and we made that submission. But then, unfortunately, that is that. Parliament, when it was about to get to that submission, I mean, it's expected. It's a group of Africans who are meeting in Parliament. When they're supposed to get to it, they realized, yeah, they must simply agree with us, but they found a creative way of avoiding it. And since March this year, but we'll still go back to them because we must still ask them what happened to, why are you not getting to this one? But I think they are not going to get to it because I think it's causing them a headache. They must agree with us. They know your EFF, your ANC, and others must agree. Well, with the DA, it's given. They must agree with us, but I don't think they will ever get to that point of entertaining that particular submission. If they do, I don't know what would have happened because they listened to one Mr. Hoofmeyer, and it was Prof. Motsecha who recorded that Mr. Hoofmeyer had suggested that there should be constitutional literacy to teach us how we should understand the Constitution. Well, because perhaps he knows why he was part of the drafting of the Constitution. Maybe they know where they took it from, and they think they should teach us. But if the text is there, we can interpret it on our own. So that is the work we did within AJA. Was I invited to talk about myself?
No, not necessarily, but yeah, we we appreciate your reflections so far. Yes, no, we really appreciate. Perhaps you know, your last word. You know, you said earlier that the horror conversations, nobody owns the space. Your last word to my Africa out there that wants to become part of the horror conversation.
Yes, no. We are trying to set the tone here. The setting of the tone, it's meant to be the foundation for further work to be done. So the word is we intend to have as many people on the platform as we reasonably possibly can. Today it's you and I, my brother, Mo Africa. Tomorrow it's some other two people. The other time it's a guest and a host, and all of us we are participants. We take part in the program, but then the basic, minimum requirement and what we want to achieve is that let's be as many as we can. We want the contribution from health. I know very less about health. We want contribution from all sectors of society, whether economic, whether education, all sectors of society. Whoever is willing to contribute to the platform, we welcome that and let it be known by all that such would be more than appreciated. That's the way I can communicate with that.
Afrika, thank you very much. It was quite an informative conversation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.